Hey, I'm out walking my dog, Judah. Hey, Judah, say hi, buddy. Yeah, say hi. Yeah, okay. And I got this thing I want to tell you. It fits into Isaiah 7, verse 9. And it's part of the story you see when I said a word for 2024. If you look in there, I said what happened in the next few hours. You've got to find the blog. I'll put a link in it. What happened in the next few hours is hard to believe, but it happened, something like that. And I feel like this is the time to tell you. So I'm just going to tell it to you like you're my friend and I'm walking along, as I am walking along. Because it's a very unusual story. Okay, this goes back to the 1980s. I was young. I was broke. I had lost my home. I had lost my second home. I lost my car. I lost everything. I was sleeping on somebody else's sofa. I was driving somebody else's car. You know, it was a tough place. Really tough time in my life. Really tough. And I was needing some money. Now, in that blog I said about 2024 a couple days ago, I mentioned the fact that after seeing myself appear on television screen, so to speak, in that weird vision, I said to the Lord, will I ever be established again? And that's when he spoke to me, 2 Chronicles 7:17, which basically says, if you hearken unto the voice of the Lord and do the word of the Lord and do what it says, I will establish you. So, but what happened next is absolutely critical, because if I hadn't have done what happened next, we most likely wouldn't be talking today. What happened next was, I said, well, I got to go someplace and make some money now. You know, I got dressed and thinking, where do I have any leads? I'm on commission sales. And so I thought of a place where I had a lead, and I had to drive, I don't know, maybe 40 minutes to get to that place. It was a place of business. And when I got there, and the guy knew me, but when I showed up at his place of business, he discarded me like a piece of used fish wrap. Like, get out of here. What are you doing here? It was about as rude as you can get, I guess. And I was hurt, frankly. Like, you know, I don't like being thrown out of somebody's place any more than you would, right? And so anyway, it was kind of tough. But I was thinking, well, I got to go someplace. I got to make some money. And I had been praying to God in the days prior to this. And I asked him, basically, when am I going to get some money? You know, I need some money. I mean, all the other things are nice, but I got to have some money. And some of you watching me right now know exactly what I'm talking about, and you feel it, just like I do, or like I did at that time especially. And so, you know what he said to me? He said, when you run out, when you've exhausted your last penny, essentially, then I will replenish. Well, you know, it's not a lot of fun thinking I'm actually going to run out, but it is a little bit encouraging to think, well, he will replenish. But, you know, you try to make those last few dollars last as long as you can, and certainly I did. And so here on this day when he said, I will establish you, and I go to this place thinking, maybe I'll make a sale here, because I thought, I need to make $1,000 more than I need my next breath, kind of thing. And the guy throws me out, and I think, now what am I going to do? So I think this was it was in February, so I thought, well, I'll just go to this restaurant for lunch, and I'll just have a cheap lunch and try to think of what I'm going to do. And so I'm walking to it. Now, this is a Christian-owned, family-run business, right? It's not like I'm going to a bar to get liquored up because I'm all sad and depressed. No, it's nothing like that at all. I'm going to this place, and the Holy Spirit speaks to me and says, no. That was it, just no. But I thought to myself, that can't be God. I'm not doing anything wrong. There's no snipers on the roof, you know. So I continued. I got almost there, and again, the second time, he said no. Now, you have to understand something. I wasn't asking, Lord, should I go here or should I not? Please show me which restaurant to go to. I wasn't doing anything like that. It never occurred to me to think like that. Of course not. I was hungry. It was lunchtime. I'm going to get something, try to figure out where to go in the afternoon. So I kept on going. I ignored the second one, but I got to the door of the restaurant. I put my hand on the door and I started opening it to walk in, and it was as if it boomed on the inside of me. No. Now, that didn't make any sense to me. It made no sense. But I didn't go. I believed. I thought, well, maybe God is telling me something. So I didn't go. And I got in my car and I drove the roughly 30, 40 minutes back to the part of town that I was from. And as I'm driving across the mighty Fraser River, the Port Mann Bridge, some of you know where that is. It's about a mile-long bridge, several hundred feet above the water. And I'm driving across that bridge. And I asked the Lord, almost jokingly, really, I said, any particular place you want me to eat? I didn't expect him to actually answer me, but he said, yeah, Chi-Chi's. Now, Chi-Chi's is, at least it used to be, I don't know if it's still in business, but what we call a big box restaurant, Mexican restaurant. At the time, I did not like Mexican food. I would never go to a Mexican restaurant. I'd been there once, to not that place, but I'd been to one, and I thought, no, thank you, it's not my kind of food, and that was that. So when he said to go to Chi-Chi's, it wasn't like, in my mind, somewhere deep inside, that's my favorite restaurant. Hey, why don't we go to Chi-Chi's? No, not only was it not my favorite, it was a place I'd never been to and never wanted to go to and would never go to. And I said, Chi-Chi's, I hate Mexican food. By the way, I don't now, I really like it, but that's how I felt back then. And so, but I went. I thought, well, maybe he's speaking to me. So I believed him, and I went. But when I got to the restaurant, okay, this is important. When I got to the restaurant, there was a lineup, like 15, 20 minutes, something like that. And I thought, forget that. I'll go someplace else. And so I head back to my car, put my key in the door, and he says, no. Like, what are we doing here, Lord? You begin to think, am I even sane? So I head back into the restaurant, and I get in line, and then a hostess comes up, and she says, you want smoking or non-smoking? I said, hey, I don't care, whatever comes first. I no sooner told her that, and she walked away, when the Holy Spirit said, non-smoking. Now, I didn't smoke at the time, but I just didn't care at that. Just sit me down someplace. So when she came to sit me down, and walking up to the table she had picked out for me, I said, is this smoking or non-smoking? And she said, this is the smoking section. I said, hey, you know what? I've thought about it. I'll wait for non-smoking. All the while wondering, am I even sane? God, are you really talking to me? A few minutes later, she seats me in the non-smoking section. I happen to be right across. The next table, just across a little bit of the aisleway, was my good friend, Rick Osborne. At the time, we hadn't been in touch for probably 6 months. But I've known him at that point for about 4 years, but we weren't in regular, face-to-face meetings or phone call or anything. So it was kind of a surprise to see him. And he asked me to join him at the table. I thought, this is it. This is the guy. This is how I thought. Rick, sorry, buddy, but this is what I thought. I thought, okay, I don't think I've ever told Rick this, but I thought Rick was going to buy I was selling some kind of financial planning kind of thing, services, mutual funds, whatever. I thought, this is why God brought me here. Rick's going to do that. He needs that kind of help is what I thought. But I found out in about 3 minutes, once Rick was in a meeting with some other guys, he said, as soon as that's over, will you join me? I said, sure. By 3 o'clock, I think it was, I finally got to sit down with him. But I thought, this is it, my chance to make $1,000. But he didn't have a tax problem, and he didn't need to buy anything from me. But he had a problem. He was negotiating some kind of deal with some publisher kind of thing, and it wasn't going very well. And he asked me for he didn't ask me for anything, actually. At that point, we just talked about it. I said, well, the Lord's given me an ability to do certain things. I'll help you. Well, what would you charge? I said, God brought me here. There's no charge. I'll help you. So over the weekend, because this was a Friday, over the weekend, I would go out walking and get a phrase. And I actually wrote an entire publishing contract. I had never read an agreement from a publisher. I had never written one, but I wrote my very first one, clause by clause, as the Holy Spirit gave me the words. Wrote it out, gave Rick the strategy. He went out on Monday and presented it, and basically they got more than they ever imagined. Double what the guy said he would ever do. It worked out to be phenomenal, right? So that's good. So the next day, I think it is, they're going to go, and they got to sign some legal papers, and Rick wants me to be there. So I go there, and it's about a 40-minute drive, something like that, and I go there, and I'm a little bit stressed because I don't have any money. And I get to the place of business, the CPA, I think it was, maybe the law firm, whatever it was. And there's a gas station out front, and I stop in front of the gas station. I look at my needle, on my gas needle, my gauge, and it was down on empty. I thought, oh man. So I took all the money I had left in the world. I didn't have a credit card. Didn't have such a thing like that. I was broke. I took all the money I had, which was, as near as I can remember, about $1.38 in coins. And I bought almost a gallon of gas. Now, this is Canada. Prices were higher then, but it didn't quite get me a gallon. I remember that. I gave the guy $1.38, and it didn't even move the gas needle. After that, Rick said, hey, why don't you meet me back at our place? And that was like another 30, 40-minute drive. And I'm driving back. I'm going across the bridge. looking at my needle on my gas gauge, and it's on empty, below empty. And I realize I don't have any money. And I don't have any gas. And I don't have any credit. And tears are honestly beginning to roll down my cheeks like, what am I going to do? I don't even know if I'm going to make it to Rick's place. That's when I remembered what the Lord said. Now, this is important. He said, when you run out, I will replenish. So I remember with tears in my eyes, looking up like this and saying, God, I don't have any more money left. This must be payday. Even though I told Rick I was doing it for free, somehow you got something else worked out. So I go there, and Rick says, Michael, the Holy Spirit told us that we're supposed to pay you. So, okay. And they counted off 10 $100 bills, gave me $1,000 cash, the very amount I needed, right? So I got in my car, left there, and I drove away from where they were, out of the subdivision, down the highway, up a hill. And as I was cresting that hill, which was a highway that had, some commerce on it, as I was cresting a hill at about 50 miles an hour, my car ran out of gas. But the momentum carried me over the crest, and I'm gliding downhill. And I noticed there was a gas station on the right, and I glided into the gas station, right up to the pump, rolled my window down, handed the guy a $100 bill and said, fill her up. Whew, that was close. My friends, I'm going to tell you, I wouldn't be here today if I hadn't believed God, even though I was a little bit slow on the uptake on some of it because it did seem so strange. There's no way I'd be here today. And that's just one example. And I tell you that because I'm telling you this, as we go into 2024, it is going to be imperative to stand firm in the faith. It's going to be imperative for you and for me to stand firm in the faith. We will be tested. You will be tested. I will be tested. And we have to stand firm in the faith. You want to talk about opposition? Isaiah, who penned those words, Isaiah 7, verse 9, he was sawn in two and never wavered. I don't think we're going to face that kind of opposition, although it certainly happened in our lifetime in the gulags and all that. It was definitely part of reality for some people in the Soviet Union during that horrible, especially the Stalinist regime, but not just then. But anyway, and it happens all over the world even to this day. We'll leave that for another time. What I want to tell you, what I want to impress upon you is, in the small things and in the big things, believe God. Believe His word. Believe Him when He says what He says. He is not kidding. He is so serious. So serious. And His word is so true and so absolutely trustworthy. So, if you want to be established in 2024, I mean really, really established, if that's what you want, to really see something magnificent happen in your life this year, coming into 2024, it will be incumbent upon you to be firm in your faith, to believe God, because without that, you will not be able to stand. Be firm in the faith, my friends. God bless you.